Now we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder and how we treat that. First of all, there's a whole bunch of literature, lots of different treatments. One of the treatments for borderline personality is called dialectical behavior therapy. It's a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'll tell you why we don't fully use that. We steal little pieces from it, but our protocol gets at the root of it. So dialectical behavior therapy is a cognitive therapy. It incorporates things like mindfulness, so meditative techniques, a little bit of like getting into your body, recognizing emotions, all great stuff. We just want to go a little bit further into the underlying. So borderline personality disorder is not just one thing. It's actually a cluster of different symptoms that are all coming together under the heading of one disorder. That's how we view it anyway. So you've got things like emotional dysregulation. That means your mood's like all over the place. You've got things like really, really heightened emotional experience. That means you're not just like a little upset, you're like on the ceiling, kind of more than you'd like to be. There's also an instability of self-image. So things like, one day you're walking on sunshine, you're like, I look good, this is great. Next day you're like, I'm a piece of shit, I can do nothing, I shouldn't be alive. That kind of thing. So it's like up and down and up and down. There's a few other features, you can Google them, but what we want to do is treat this as a constellation of these things that are messing with somebody. Now, the reason it gets the heading of a personality disorder is that's the category of disorder that goes across our lifespan. So it's generally something that we're seeing pervasively show up for a really long time for people. Super not fun. So let's definitely hack that. What we do is we're going to identify first the limiting beliefs that are involved in that. So in early childhood, everyone's got some non-nurturing elements. So these are things that just kind of like disrupt the ideal environment, right? Kids need things like nurturance, they need stability, all of that good stuff. Almost everybody has something that messes with it to some degree. So those non-nurturing elements in borderline personality disorder give way to the formation of limiting beliefs. A really common one for borderline personality disorder is, I'm going to be abandoned. Now, let's talk a little bit about why abandonment fucks people up. The reason it does is if we go back to our evolutionary, caveman days, we're very reliant on our attachment figure to protect us because little baby toddler self doesn't know if that lion in the distance is dangerous or not. Doesn't know if it's safe to go crawl a little ways away from mom. So what we do is we cue back to our attachment figure. If they look happy and chill, we're like, I'm good. So if that attachment figure is not present, or not attentive to us, not making eye contact, not interacting with us, or not validating that we're kind of searching for an answer here, what you're gonna get is a feeling of anxiety. So if we've got things like that, so a really dismissive environment, for instance, parental separation, you don't have that attachment figure there, you're going to have a heightened sense of anxiety, and that's gonna be pervasive through your life. That heightened sense of anxiety is particularly related to relationships, which is why in borderline disorder, we see so much disruption to relationships. We'll see a really unstable pattern of relationships in most cases. Now, with that, you also get something called relationship testing behaviors, because if I want to know that you're going to be there, and this is not my thinking brain, this is my little walnut brain, my pre-evolutionary brain, I'm going to test that. So in caveman days, that might be tested by the little toddler wandering away and then the mom going and getting them. Be like, yes, I'm attentive, I'm watching. Now, later on though, it might be tested by push behaviors. So I'm gonna have a dramatic screaming match with you and see if you'll take me back, right? Things like that. They're not super adaptive for the creation of healthy relationships, hence the unstable relationship pattern, but they serve for that walnut brain to test it. Now, if we go back to that I'm going to be abandoned cognition, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm unwanted, whatever version of it, creates a dysfunctional need of I need to be wanted. So often individuals with borderline personality disorder will do things to create like a want thing. So they can be at first maybe really seductive and really charming, or they're going to be really giving, and they're fulfilling that need that way. I need to be wanted. But with dysfunctional needs, we know a couple things. One, you can't always meet them. So when the I need to be wanted isn't met, it falls back to the limiting belief being the dominant thought or feeling, which is, I am unwanted, I'm going to be abandoned. Remember, our evolutionary brains haven't changed that much, and that induces a level of panic. Hence, we get some unstable identity, and we get those huge emotional roller coaster situations. We don't want that. And I need to be wanted over and over and over again creates a pressure cooker that nobody can fulfill, and then we'll get opt-out behaviors. That's why in borderline personality disorder, we often see these extreme opt-outs. So it could be self-harm, suicidal ideation, could be gambling addiction, shopping, impulsive behaviors, reckless behaviors. And then when we do those things, we really are often setting up to be unwanted, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that the individual gets stuck in that really, really sucks. So what we do is we want to know what limiting beliefs are there. Usually we'll see I'm unwanted, I'm going to be abandoned. We'll also, because of those types of opt-outs, we'll see something like I'm shameful, I need to hide, things like that. Maybe I'm worthless, maybe I'm not good enough, depends on the person. But we want to identify those limiting beliefs that are contributing to that cycle, and then we want to apply our specific and unique approach to dissolving them, getting rid of the limiting beliefs so the person automatically doesn't feel like they have to fulfill that pattern anymore. And then their cognitive logical self, which has been there all the time, just whispering in the background, is the one that gets the keys to drive their bus. To wrangle your walnut brain, click Start Therapy below.